Mechs, Devs, and Beer is recorded in front of a live studio audience and is an adult podcast containing adult language. Consider yourself warned. You're listening to the Gamecasting Broadcast Network. Live from Outreach Studios, you're listening to the Mechs, Devs, and Beer podcast, a NoGutsNoGalaxy special featuring your hosts, Phil and Daeron.
Welcome to the No Guts, No Galaxy Mechs, Devs, and Beer podcast number 13. My name is Phil, and I'm your host. It is July 11th, 2013, and my shout-out, it's going to go to Sir Dub. Amazing graphic comic, and if you haven't checked that out, make sure to do so. All the content is over at NGNG's website, but it is awesome. I'm loving the different style, and I think a lot of people out there like that sort of graphic and gritty style. So again, Sir Dub, you're amazing. Keep up the good work, man. Daeron?
Hey, this is Daeron, aka Bombadil, and my shout out today goes to Max, the Italian stallion. You know who you are. You're listening right now as you're editing this. And speaking of editing, the reason why I'm shouting out to Max is because he did less than 24-hour turnaround on NGNG number 80. That was so awesome. Thank you, Max, for your work. And, of course, to all of you listeners and supporters, this is because of your support, whether it be through donations or purchasing items in the store. We are now able to pay Max for editing, so it's been awesome. Thank you for your support, and thank you, Max.
Yeah, it's definitely a pleasure being able to actually hook these guys up for doing the work they're doing. We haven't been able to do that, and now it's just awesome. So make sure to head over to our store, check those things out, and specifically we've got the faction t-shirts. You can go over and head over to our store. There is a few designs. It's not for everyone. I know some people, if you're a Davion at heart, you may not want the FRR or vice versa, but hey, make sure to grab one. And it's great quality. You can ask other people in the channel too who have gotten t-shirts. It is really, really good quality t-shirts as far as screen printed, the materials, t-shirts in general. But anyways, I just want to say welcome to all of our live studio audience. Looks like we've got a few more strolling in here, and of course it is still early, we understand, but we've got to work around the schedule of the guest and of course our own schedule. And we ask, hey, head over to our website if you have the ability, and we've got a tip jar on the right side. Show us some love and we'd appreciate it. Daeron?
Yes, sir. If you have any plans to buy anything on Amazon or Newegg, maybe Tiger Direct, please help us out by clicking through on the banners on our website. They're on the right side. Scroll down a little bit. It won't add anything to your bill, but it does give NGNG a little kickback. As I was mentioning before, that support is helping us support others to make NGNG better. It's a good way to support us, be a part of helping this great community continue to grow.
All right, for today's guest, we've had him. Actually, you were on the first Mechs, Devs, and Beer, and he's back on the 13th. And we have Alex. How do you pronounce it so I don't screw it up, Alex?
Have you ever heard?
Iglesias?
Yeah, have you ever heard of Julio Iglesias?
I don't know. I just feel like putting an N in there. Why is that? Even
the postman does it, so don't feel too bad.
Learn Spanish, Phil. Okay, well maybe that's why. Anyways, so can you? For those that may not know, what is your title at PGI?
I am lead concept artist. I do all the mechs, or at least I draw them out, and sometimes I assist in texture work.
Ooh.
Any specific textures that we would recognize?
Buccaneer was one of mine.
Nice.
It's actually one of my favorites.
Same.
Yeah.
Actually, I heard... Now, something interesting about that texturing work, because some people may not know how difficult it is, but literally, especially with Buccaneer, you can tell every mech, it's different. Not only because of the geometry of the mech itself, but you put different little messages and pictures and images and so forth. And people were saying with Buccaneer, I believe their favorite is the catapult for a particular message on there. I forget what that says.
All the missiles, I think?
Yes. So it's a lot of work doing a texture, right?
It's a bit of work. Most of the work is done by Gabe Kessler, and I kind of just come in afterwards and do the RGB kind of skin that gets linked to all the color channels and help with the patterns. Mark Hayden does a lot of the work for the most part too. I just kind of come in on special ones every now and then. And
we got to clarify too. There's the texture, the overall underlying texture of a mech. What's overlaid on top of that is the different skins. Obviously, what we're talking about is the camo patterns, and then and stuff like that. So and we've had Mark on here before, and you got to think about this. Like every single mech that comes out, he has to do every single camo pattern for that, plus all the special ones. I mean, like you got to think the list is only getting longer, people, and then plus the clans in the future and Yeah, I don't. That's a lot of work, but
It is.
yeah, I definitely understand. But anyways, enough of texture talk. I wanted to get you on here tonight to talk about something very special to my heart, something special close to I think everyone in this channel probably, and that is Project Phoenix. Holy crap! Of course, I just want to say this. If you ever have any, like you have a daughter or if I have a son or whatever, I mean, we can always arrange. Our families can, you know.
I think you've promised your children to like everybody at PGI already. You're gonna have to have a lot of children, Phil.
It's only Alex actually.
Okay.
You know, so just no. Actually, to be honest, Project Phoenix, it's a really big deal, obviously, because of the nostalgic reasons. Read them in the novels. I mean, I grew up with these particular BattleMechs. Daeron literally was there when they were built. I mean, like, so
that makes me really young, you know, since this is the future. I'm actually negative years old.
No, dude, remember we're 1 for 1, so we're already there. You know, see what I did there? No. All right, so what was this a surprise to you? I mean, was it like Brian or Russ was like, hey, got something to show you, go ahead, start? I mean, were you aware of what it was coming? Was it on the table? Like, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it kind of started off like, you know, for a while, Brian and Russ have kind of, you know, asked me unofficially to, you know, make a few sketches for some of the unseen stuff, and, you know.
Was that for their own personal enjoyment or on an official basis?
Just in case.
Yeah, I don't know. At first I thought it was for personal enjoyment, but apparently they I don't know, they liked the idea of some of these, and it kind of suddenly got pushed into production, and suddenly I gotta concept these things out in full, like, and caught me by surprise a little bit.
How did that go? Did he just walk up to you and say, you know, you're doing these 4 mechs?
It was like they had wanted particularly like these 4 mechs designed, and yeah, it just kind of, once they got concepted, it was just sort of like, almost got fast-tracked a little bit.
I was gonna say, were you like, fuck yeah, I'll design those, or?
Oh, hell yeah, of course.
Now, you know, as we move through this conversation, I mean, understand that, yeah, we're excited about it, but we want to ask you, like, obviously the processes and stuff. So we're going to dive into a little bit of that. But before we go there, are you even a fan of the unseen mechs? I mean, in general, or have you always, like, I know some people aren't. I know Daeron is, because he grew up when, I mean, that's how it came to him, you know, the Robotech, Macross, and stuff like that. Is there a specific mech that you're like, yeah, but others, I mean, how do you feel about it?
I don't know. I rather like there's nothing particular in the loadouts that really grabs me about the mechs, but I really do like just the idea of these mechs in terms of like the history that they kind of fill in BattleTech. Just these sort of, not necessarily the most optimized mechs or whatever, they're just these hardline troopers that have just been around since, you know, forever and a half. So I really just like that really rugged,
like an old grizzled warrior.
Yeah.
Were you looking forward to the opportunity to giving these mechs the Iglesias makeover? Like, did you already have some forethought as far as how you'd approach these specific mechs, or did you just sit down with a blank piece of paper and start at square one?
I pretty much approach it similar to how I approached a lot of the other designs, except with the caveat that I had to sort of make these a little bit lawyer-proof, since, you know, we don't own the, nobody seems to, I don't know who owns the rights to the old Dogram art, but, you know, obviously you gotta make it look different enough, but at the same time evoke the style of it, and, you know, sort of mix here, and also sort of mix in the gameplay necessities for the design, like giving the Locust a pelvis, and you know, just getting, like, since we don't have handheld weapons, you know, hard mounting the PPC on the Battlemaster, not making the Battlemaster's cockpit 1/4 the size of its torso, and things like that.
The bulb. That's what I used to call it. Oh my gosh.
Now,
gigantic.
My personal opinion, and I'm sure Phil's probably somewhere along the same line as me, but you could not have done a better job at giving these the MWO look, but also retaining the classic, all four of them, the classic look and feel. As soon as I see them, I mean, it could just be their silhouette. In fact, it was in the beginning. You recognize them immediately, and that's what, retains that original look. But yeah, they're obviously MWO as well.
Thanks.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, I will say, out of the 4 designs, obviously my favorite is the Shadowhawk, and then I would definitely have to say, just from the playability standpoint, obviously, I would say Thunderbolt, and just because I'm a medium-heavy sort of pilot. The one thing I do like about the Locust is it actually looks like an insect, and it looks like something that could actually move and run, and of course that comes into the whole mechanical. It looks like it could be real, it looks like it can move, and not like some of the originals. You were like, how? What? Just what? So
how does it?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, how does this thing move without shaking the pilot apart, kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now, obviously, when you were given the task of redoing these, re-seeing, if you will, the unseen, what comes next, and how the hell do you start that process? You as an artist, how do you start that?
Like you were saying, you had to put it through the legal goggles and all that stuff.
Well, originally it just started with 4 loose sketches just to make sure, everything was squeaky clean. And afterwards, I went back and started polishing them up one by one. And for that, I had the old art in front of me, the re-seen art, the old tabletop Project Phoenix art up, taking the bits that I could and sort of remixing it a little bit, and fixing proportion issues and perspective stuff, and making sure I didn't make anything with proportions that would impact gameplay in a bad way or whatever, and also keeping in mind the weapon customization and how different weapons would slot into the space and everything.
Well, speaking of affecting gameplay, what were some of the MWO specific challenges in creating these mechs? For example, weapon geometry or hitboxes or whatever.
Well, the Battlemaster's cockpit would be an obvious one. Obviously, we can't have it be huge like Xbox or whatever. So that kind of tried to shrink that down and make it more faceted to bring it in line with the style of the other mechs a little bit. Also, let me see, the Raven. I mean, not the Raven. The Locust's cockpit kind of made it more of a fighter pilot type cockpit, because the old style cockpit was essentially just a pair of eyes or kind of looked like a pair of eyes on the front, and that would kind of not make for a very interesting looking cockpit.
Hey, speaking of cockpits, do you have any, is that you? Are the cockpits your design, or you work with somebody, or you don't have any part of that?
I don't have a direct part of that. No, that would be Amit. He's the one that models the cockpits, but he bases them off of the 3/4 design of the art and stuff.
All right, so now out of the Phoenix mechs, do you have a favorite? Are you going to be partial? Because you do play. I've seen you. I played against you. I've seen videos of people harassing you and picking you apart, and quite hilarious. Probably not to you. I don't know. Maybe. But do you have a favorite? And what are you looking forward to, I guess?
I think I'm looking forward most to somewhere, but I think I'm going to hop back and forth, see which one feels best to me. The Shadowhawk and the Thunderbolt. I tend to play the medium-heavy category as my favorite. I
tend to go heavy medium. So now I can't pick a favorite of the 4 mechs as far as looks, just aesthetics, but as far as playing, I'm probably going Thunderbolt first, then Shadowhawk, then Battlemaster, and just because I suck at lights, Locust fourth. But that's playing instead of aesthetics. I think they're all awesome.
One thing I do like about the Thunderbolt too is the offset cockpit. There's that, and the summoner, the Thor. I think there may be one or two others, but I mean, there's really no other mechs that have that. And I was glad that you were allowed to keep it, or you brought it in, and the design sort of stuck. That's one thing I liked about it. Of course, when it comes to the cockpit geometry, that's always one thing that a lot of players ask about, because at the end of the day, we are pretty damn accurate with this mouse, and how easy it is really to hit said target. And you have some mechs that are really, really easy to hit, catapult, awesome, and some that are more difficult. And it does affect the the gameplay. At least being able to get knocked out.
Dagger, who's Jamie, says he never liked the Thunderbolt art previously from FASA, but until this new MWO Thunderbolt came out, he thinks it's badass. I did like it before. I loved the Thunderbolt for the tabletop because of basically the mixed arms. It had something for every situation. Don't know if that'll translate well into MWO, but I think I liked it before, but I do like it better now.
When going with the MWO specific challenges, as far as like some of the things, do you already know what weapon systems are going to be on the mechs? Are the variants already picked? I'm assuming so, just so you know where to leave flat space for like an extra piece of, or does that come later? In the artist space, they work around with whatever you got. Does that make sense? Like in the Shadowhawk, on the torso where you have the autocannon, if you have 2 ballistics, then it needs to be able to fit at least 2 autocannons or whatever. Is that something you do beforehand, or is that just sort of after and the artist takes care of it?
A little bit of A, a little bit of B. When I usually start doing the concept, I don't always know exactly. I just sort of assume that it's going to be the primary. I go off of what the primary variant usually has, and if I know offhand, a specific variant that I know is going to be in there, then I try to work in, stuff like having jump jet ports if one of the variants has jump jet ports but the primary doesn't, and like obvious stuff like that. But usually the variant info tends to come in like after the fact, so like I don't always know I try to do my homework as much as possible, but I don't always know like all the variants by memory as far as what they have to fit, and more importantly the number of hard points that the variants equal. That's usually determined later. So but I try to, as I do more designs, I try to do better in terms of leaving enough real estate in certain areas to accommodate, all the possibilities and such.
Gotcha. And sort of a side question is the newer mechs we've seen have a lot more customization when it comes to aesthetics, the geometry changing when the weapons change. As PGI goes back and adjusts the older designs that don't have that Centurion Hunchback, all the older designs. Do you have anything to play with that, or do you just, that's purely 3D art and they just handle it?
I usually come by and I'll be like, offering advice on like certain parts, or I might get asked to concept certain parts if it's something particularly different, like, or unusual. But I think at this point we have a pretty good backlog of weapon models and such. So some things are fairly no-brainers in terms of just slapping a PPC barrel on something, but in certain cases, if it's a lot more complicated, then yeah, I usually get asked in to help out.
Awesome.
Okay, so Russ has hinted a couple. Now that there's basically the green light with the Duggar mechs, Russ has hinted at possibly the Wolverine and the Griffin coming soon. Anything you know about that, or is that out of your radar right now?
That's out of my radar at the moment.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to those mechs being redesigned by you. If that does happen. Yes.
But it's one of those things that we were, me and Daeron were talking about. Like, if you were to, look at a medium mech, which one would you put in and why? And I think if why they chose the Shadowhawk over the Wolverine and Griffin, I can see that, and I'm glad that they did. So out of those three, yes, I think the Wolverine would be cool, but the Shadowhawk, I mean, it is iconic. Like, I mean, you read about it in like the first novels. I mean, the Shadowhawk, and that's one thing. Another thing to hit on is like how just nostalgic this is for those, because we literally haven't seen the design. So I'm sure it's important to you as much as it is to us. But I do have a question: is what is more intense for you, redesigning the Phoenix Mechs or the Timberwolf, aka Mad Cat?
Yeah, they're both pretty dicey. Anything that has a large nostalgia factor on it can be pretty difficult.
Do you feel the pressure?
Yeah.
I think we actually asked you, like, what mech, if you had to redesign it, would you feel the most pressure? And I think you actually said the Timberwolf, because you're like, it's the bread and butter. Like, everyone knows. Like, you can walk out and show any gamer like the picture of the Timberwolf, and they probably, oh yeah, that's
it's basically the Warhammer for the younger crowd. The Warhammer is the most iconic for me. Yes, exactly, because the Warhammer was on the first box set, so that was the iconic mech, and now it's you youngins with this freaking Marauder catapult hybrid piece of shit.
Wow, back in my day, that's all I hear.
So, Alex, in general, is it difficult to design mechs for a 3D environment as opposed to 2D, where particular designs might lead to hitbox issues and so forth?
Oh yeah, I mean, in tabletop, doesn't really matter how big a location is, or how big a head is, or the shape of a weapon, or whatever, because it's just existing in someone's imagination. And a mini has to be made, but overall it could be shaped like whatever, and the rule system's consistent where no matter how it looks aesthetically, it just obeys the same rules as everything else. Whereas in a video game, suddenly having something really huge makes it a huge target, and might impede or clip into other parts, and it's got to look good being animated, and all these various issues. So it's a little bit challenging. It's not all that hard once you get used to it, but it does require a little bit of thought.
Well, you're saying as you get used to it, that's something that I thought about earlier. I meant to ask you, has a process since you first started designing mechs for PGI and MWO changed to, like, when you get a project now, like do this mech? Are you quicker at it now, or now that you know more in what you need to do, does it take you longer? What's the experience like compared to what it used to be?
I think it's a little more streamlined now. Yeah, like I think I have my process pretty nailed down at this point, and all the factors worth worrying about, and they're all pretty much well established, so everything is sort of business as usual. Whereas early on there was still a lot of guesswork as how are things going to interact with each other and everything, but now it's a lot more sure-footed, I guess.
Well, when it comes to the designs, I remember when we were playing closed beta, and like the Dragon came out. The Dragon has this gigantic CT, and same thing with like the Catapult. There are certain mechs that are a little bit easier to hit in certain locations. I mean, is it something like, do you think you would handle those particular designs different, knowing how gameplay is? Because I'm assuming as a player that would change. There has to be something that, correlation there, when you're doing a design. I mean, is there at all?
But at the same time, how could you do a dragon without the big center torso? It wouldn't be a dragon anymore.
Well, shape and dimension. That's what I'm asking. Is like, do you feel like, does that influence the designs? Knowing that, I mean, like, being a player, seeing how some of these designs are, or is it just like hey, it is what it is sometimes?
No, it does influence stuff. It does. I guess maybe early on, maybe I wasn't cognizant enough of some things, and maybe certain mechs ended up becoming a little more vulnerable because of that. But
the Atlas head in the early days, that was so fun.
Well, and we've talked about it in a podcast where we talked about the aesthetics of a mech affect the effectiveness of it, because like the effectiveness rolls into how easy it is to hit, and when you're shooting at it from the front, shooting at it from the side, what if it's torso twisting, run away? All these things play into the designs, and obviously I'm sure that crosses your mind, and I just wondered if is there any mechs that you would change or like to redesign, like one that you've done so far? Is there any one in particular you're like, I'd probably change that a little bit?
Yeah, I'd probably like want to fudge a few proportions maybe on a few mechs. I won't say which, but yeah.
I don't know how you can improve on perfection, though.
Well, as an artist, I've talked to a lot of them, and they're like, you're never happy.
You made the cicada cool, though.
The cicada.
That's right.
What was that, Garth?
The cicada
I said
is
he
cool.
made the cicada cool. How do you improve on that kind of thing?
That's actually very true. That's a very true statement.
I'm very hard on my own art. I'm sorry.
Grab myself.
Phil has a hard on for your art too. Don't worry
That's
about
all right. Everyone does. No one. Yeah.
Something mech porn.
Yeah. Did we post up?
Not that kind of hard on.
Anyways, guys, we're going to roll into community questions. So at this time, X up if you have a question for Alex. Now, keep in mind, if it's something to do with clans or, I don't know, like the unseen, like the Macross ones, he might not be able to answer, or probably won't answer. But any questions for him specifically?
Be prepared for Comstar sanctions.
Anybody? No one wants to ask Alex
Axe away.
Iglesias. All right, Sergeant Major, go down mute. Ask away.
Hey, my question, growing up, what has been the biggest influence for how you do your art as you were growing up? For me, again, I grew up with a lot of the Macross and original BattleTech stuff, and that's always been my influence when I paint or do miniatures, but what has influenced your art over the years?
Oh man. I'd say a lot of it was originally just, the old TRO art, but after that, I mean, oh god.
Did the original
really
TRO influence you, or did it inspire you to make something better?
It's the
Loaded question.
The original TROs are kind of like what got me interested in drawing mechs and stuff, but it's really hard for me to pinpoint any one particular influence. I kind of like, I don't know, absorb, osmosify, or whatever from a lot of places, but I'd say a big influence is probably just real world military looking stuff, because I like to do my homework on just looking at vehicles, and
Can totally see that influence.
my dad is also really into cars, and my garage back at my parents' house is just full of engine parts and all this stuff, so that also played an influence, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's a hard question to answer, and I don't know if I have a proper answer for that.
Oh, that's a good question. Cowbell?
We need more cowbell.
Cowbell.
And then Batonic, we'll get to your question.
Hey guys, how's it going tonight?
Good, thanks, man.
Hi.
Alex, I need you to go ahead and stop following me, first of all, because that was getting ridiculous the other night.
How many
other
matches?
thing- Oh, dude, it was like, what was it, 5 matches we went back and forth?
Yeah.
Well, he has those dev hacks,
Yeah, it showed, too, it showed. Anyways, the other thing was, I know you can't comment on it, but Marauder. And lastly, unit.
Oh boy.
Unit what?
Yeah,
He just-
drink. Hold
It
on.
means we have to drink. Whenever somebody says unit or cockpit.
My beer's gone.
Yep.
Oh.
Thankfully, I have a full bottle of the Tennessee Honey.
Yeah, I can't comment on the Marauder one way or another, unfortunately.
I knew Comstar was going to intercede. Yeah, sorry about that. So we knew there was a good chance he wasn't going to be able to answer those kinds of questions. But we will move on to Batonic's question, which is, what is the difference between clan and IS mech design? So I'm assuming, like, when you sit down, when you're looking at the clan mechs, is there a different process you go through thinking-wise or design-wise? And again, Comstar may intercede, but is there anything you can answer there?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's also classified.
Sneaky question.
No, I think one thing that's to note here, and I think Alex can cue in on this, the original designs, original TRO artwork, the difference between the earlier TRO, and the difference between when the clans were sort of brought in, the original TRO artwork, it looks like, one, it was new artist, it was different artist, but two, it looked like a little bit more money was put into it. I mean, do you agree, Alex? Do you see, obviously I think you've met most of the guys, or have known most of the guys who did all those back then, right?
I've run into a few of them. I don't think I've ever met Luce or some of the old artists. I've mainly either met or talked to some of the newer guys.
And, just looking at them, I mean, me personally, I've always felt that the clans had a lot more of a, just not an alien look, but more sleek and round. A lot of the mechs have a lot of round curvature, where, organic, I think would be a good word. Whereas, of course, the original was very straight line and just, like, there was no mechanical sense put into them, I guess. And, look at the Highlander, like the original design. I've always wondered, how the hell do the legs work? Like, it doesn't.
The old Stalker.
Oh God.
With the bendy legs.
The Flashman, it's a hover mech. It's a hover. It has to be a hover mech because it ain't walking.
Yeah, some of those legs looked like they would probably clip into the mech the second it tried to turn or even walk or
move,
use its arms or anything.
All right, I think we have time for one or two more questions. What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, let's do one more.
All right, X up. This is it. Last question.
Yep.
First to X, first to ask.
Don't be shy.
Coffee Nail, you said you were thinking. Did you get one? Come on.
Right, well, I just let's go ahead and call it a night. I just want to say thank you again, Alex. By the way, we will bug you to be on another show when the clans eventually arrive, because they will, and I'm sure we'll be able to sit down and talk to you about future designs. All I got to say is this.
All right.
Leaving out Alex is Grasshopper. Can we make it happen? Yeah.
Please make it happen, Alex, so I can stop hearing you mask.
Grasshopper. I mean,
go to Russ and say this is a favor for Daeron.
And all the people who have to listen to Phil,
and make it come out before the Orion.
All right, we do have a question. One last question from Coffee Now. Let's take it.
All right, he's put a lot of thought into this,
and he did win.
Don't screw up.
TRO 3039 a while back.
Yes, he is a winner. He's trying to figure out how to unmute. Too many drinks.
Too many drinks.
Let's grease the floor a little bit more. Coffee, nail, unit, cockpit.
There we go. Helps if I click the check mark to get it onto
Too much pressure.
But so I was like, don't think he's ever answered it. What was your favorite mech that you've redesigned so far there, Alex?
I don't think I have a favorite
Cicada.
one.
Which is your favorite child?
Yeah, but I do love to drive the Jaeger mech, so I'll save
Fuck
that
yeah.
one.
God.
Always a
Of
classic.
all of them, the Jaeger?
What do you put on yours?
You're not allowed to like that.
I was one of those people that ran around with 6 machine guns and 2
Yes.
ERPPCs.
That's so fun.
I've recently reconsidered, and I think I run with 2 AC2s, an ERPPC, and 4 machine guns, and I'm
a
pretty
mixed
happy
build.
with that loadout.
Yeah, these 6 machine guns and 2 ERPPCs is a very fun trolling mech. I've had a lot of good matches in that.
Oh yeah.
Well, there you like it. He likes a box with some guns attached to it, and he runs around and goes pew pew and daka daka.
He likes those high arms, man. You just peek over a little hill
Oh my god.
and destroy.
yes.
It is a good setup, and I will say that the Blackjack and the K2, it is very, very nice to have that higher arcing reach. But anyways, guys, I just want to say thank you again, Alex and
Thank
Daeron. coming out. And audience, hey, make sure to check us out on Facebook. We're up to almost 4,100 likes on Facebook. It's a great way for you guys to get information. We post up, 30 minutes prior before we do these, recordings. And so you guys know. And of course, check us out on YouTube at NoGutsNoGalaxy TV. And yeah, just we've got a bunch of stuff. And don't forget, we've got the t-shirts. If you'd like a faction t-shirt, hey, when you're rocking out playing the tabletop, maybe you're drinking some beers with some mech buddies, maybe you're meeting up with your mech buddies, you can rock out with a custom-made faction t-shirt. So make sure to check out those as well. And I just want to say thank you to everyone, our community, our staff members for supporting us. You guys are awesome. Alex, again, it's always a pleasure.
Likewise.
Maybe one day we'll meet and I'll have you sign some artwork and take
sign his tits.
Yeah. No, it's awesome, man. And anytime you want to roll with us, by the way, Garth does it all the time. Sometimes he plays, when he's at home as well. Hop on here and we can jump in a group. Maybe get some YouTube footage, put you up on YouTube. Don't worry. Mark Hayden
No pressure.
Mark Hayden was literally falling down hills because he was dying so quick. And then Matt Newman and a few of the others hop on here every once in a while. But anyways, thank you again, Alex and crew. This was your local No Guts, No Galaxy Mechs, Devs, and Beer podcast. We hope you enjoyed tonight's show. This is Phil.
And this is Daeron.
Until next time, Mech Warriors.